Alright, take two.
So the thing about the voice acting in this game, you say everybody's phoning it in. See, when everybody seems to be phoning it in rather than blame all the actors, it makes me want to kind of blame the director. You know,
absolutely.
Oh yeah,
and I get the feeling that probably they weren't given enough. I mean, if Piero is, everybody says, oh, he's really prickly, and he's delivering these lines as like, oh, hi, I'm glad to see you. It says to me that's a direction problem.
I don't know why everyone hates the voice acting. I think he tries really hard.
Again, like, I stand by what I said. Every character in this game talks to you like they're explaining like how to navigate their attic. Or like, oh, the wireless is a little bit ornery. You have to restart it by unplugging it and then plugging back in whenever you use the microwave, Corvo. Can you kill this guy for me, please?
And
he's my brother,
all of
and
this
only
kind
friend.
of feeds into this problem the game has, which is, I think, personally, largely because Corvo doesn't really have a character. He's a Gordon Freeman. He doesn't. Who is he? We don't know really. You get into this,
which is fine.
You get into this situation,
for Gordon Freeman.
And, you know, you probably got a bunch of questions. You just escaped from prison. You found out there's a conspiracy, and they're like, hey, we're a conspiracy. You want to help us? You're going to have to, because you can't actually respond. And then they go over here, and this guy's like, hey, I'm making a helmet for you. I can make stuff for you. And it's like, okay. But it's all exposition and setup, but there's no dialogue that deals with any kind of human element to it.
Right, you know, which it wouldn't be a problem if you hadn't just lost the love of your life and had someone who's like a daughter to you kidnapped. You've got all these emotional stakes and you don't express any of it.
Might actually be real dog.
It's like all the writers for this game only knew how to, like, describe something, not how to portray it.
Right, exactly. Don't need any of those. Yeah, this is good.
Must be exhausted. I advise
Thrill as we store.
Your life will get
I advise that you get some sleep. Your life will get even more difficult.
Notice how he starts every sentence, like every new sentence, the same way, like long pause and then
Guess I'll
he
just
gets
sleep
his
in
rhythm going.
I'm gonna lay down over here next to the desk. Yep. Somewhere else. Ooh.
I really feel like if the voice acting and like the dialogue had been better, I really would have appreciated this game a lot more. I don't know.
Yeah.
As it is, I felt very alienated. Oh,
we're coming up with the worst character in the game. The biggest missed opportunity here.
He doesn't even
and again,
count. He's not a character.
I don't
He's
even
less of a character than Corvo.
He could have been the best thing about the game. And I hate to start this game with so much bitching. There's a lot to like here, but boy, does this
guys,
start off on the wrong foot.
This is Dishonored's G-Man.
This is fucking Loki. You're talking to Loki right now.
And he's like this awful, boring hipster douchebag with a terrible haircut.
Space Justin Bieber will give you superpowers.
Voice actor.
Yes.
I don't know who did the voice acting, but
when you listen to this guy's dialogue, he's all about creating chaos. He doesn't care who he serves. He just wants to see anarchy. He wants to see interesting things happen. He wants to see a world turned on its head. He wants to watch things burn. This guy's the Joker and Loki rolled into one, and he talks in such a boring way, and he looks so boring, and he
And
you know,
he's like a phoned-in JRPG villain.
You should have been afraid of him the whole time, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I have to work with this freak. And this should have been the betrayal you were afraid of, is that this trickster god was going to leave you in the lurch at a crucial moment, and that should have been what you were afraid of the whole time.
You know what I would have done? I would have had the first thing he does be make a joke about the dead Empress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
that would perfectly, yeah. I mean, it's
I
like,
think that's That's a sort of high chaos version of the Outsider. I think it paints him as sort of like a Batman-style Joker. I think you could have painted him as a legitimately bored, ostensibly omniscient being that's like, look, I've seen everything. I've seen every permutation of how this world ends. It's all boring. I've been there. I've done that. I've seen the past. I've seen the future. Make something interesting happen. I'm going to give you some superpowers.
What kind of 10-year-old under duress, even a 10-year-old that is going to be the heiress of an empire, write like this? Corvo, I am very sad. They say that you're dead like mother. But I'm going to put this little note in a bottle and throw it into the river because I do not believe them. Living here is very strange. I do not like it, so please come for me if you can.
Writing like children is very hard, though, so I mean, I'm not really going to get too down on them for that.
But really, what they did with the Outsider is just such... it's not because he's awful, it's just because this was a delicious opportunity. This could have been the best part of the game, and instead... it was absolutely uninteresting in every way.
This could have been the most memorable character
oh my God.
in the game, and as it is, no one remembers him.
Or you could have framed it a different way. Instead of him being a bored, omniscient god, or instead of him being sort of a Joker-style agent for chaos, maybe you could have had him be sort of more of an evil, like, objectively, play more into the moral choice system, and have him be objectively evil like the endings of the game imply, and then have the heart of the Empress serve as his sort of, like, cosmic counterpoint, where she's trying to get you to do good.
Let's spoil that before that shows up, too.
It's spoiler warning, we do this as a job. But... like, you could do that.
Yeah,
like, there are a million ways you could take this.
Anything but what they did. In fact, having him be silent and just wiggle his eyebrows at you while he gives you superpowers would have been more unsettling than what they did. Anything
even as this scene was happening, I was disappointed. It's not even like a hindsight thing where like I'm watching Josh talk and suddenly the bile rises up in me. I think like all of us, while we were playing this, we're like, wow, this really should have been better.
Like, what were they thinking here? What is this guy supposed to be?
He would have been better if they replaced him with the
story stepped in to give his character powers. And it was like, whatever, I don't even care.
With this heart,
well,
secrets, and it will guide you.
Eventually they imply that he's some sort of vengeance from nature about killing all the whales, and that his true form is some sort of trans-dimensional space god whale, but even if that's true, it's first of all only barely implied. And second of all, it's just not enough justification for his, like, chaos.
Actually, a space god whale would be, like, way cooler.
Yeah, but his bland delivery. I mean, that would be a great thing for him to be, but he's just so boring about it.
Well, as an agent, we do that awesomely. As an agent of vengeance and chaos, he doesn't have the anger in his voice to sort of meaningfully represent the whales. Go ahead, Rutsky.
Or the...
Okay. So, the heart is what a lot of people, I think, who want to defend the game sort of come up with as soon as you start talking about how the world, like, none of the characters are really characters, none of them have anything going on. Especially, like, the female characters feel just completely boring and bland. And they're like, well, I mean, if you point the heart at them and, like, ask it, it tells you all kinds of background character details.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. None of that manifests in the game world. It's just, like, it's like notes. It's like if you had, like, a director's commentary running. They tell you about all the things they failed to do with the character.
Yes, all the things that could have been in the game but weren't.
It's the Mass Effect Codex. It's like, oh, that backstory's explained in the Codex, don't worry.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I was trying to bring out... I hit mouse 2 instead of mouse 3, and then I decided to fly off for no reason. So you get this heart that the Outsider gives you, and it's got the same voice actress as the Empress, so, okay, it's the Empress's heart. There are other things that imply that it's the Empress's heart. And when you bring it out, it spouts a bunch of backstory about stuff, which would be really kind of cool if any of that was at all, like, in the actual game. Which is what Rutsky is just saying.
And it does screw her up.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
it does screw it up. Point the heart at Havelock and see what she says about him, and then what she doesn't say about him, and realize that she's a big fat jerk for not telling you what you need to know about Havelock.
In the realm of the outsiders, hands are really, really large.
Hands are really, really large.
The realm of the outsider's hands get cold very easily, but only his left hand, so he likes to keep it tucked under his armpit. Oh wait, that's every character in this fucking video game at all times. Never mind.
They only have one stamp.
I have never seen people cross their arms nearly as much in real life as they do in this video game in Mass Effect. And it's not even the sort of thing where you're like, well, I mean, they gotta do something with their hands, it's more natural in the alternative. It's not natural. It immediately stands out as weird.
No weirder than when Jensen would do it to every conversation.
I didn't notice it for some reason in Deus Ex. In this game, maybe because you're facing everybody head-on and not at an angle. And also in Deus Ex, you're contentious and kind of contrarian. Although we're obstreperous, so I guess I let it slide. Somebody's like,
how you
Corvo.
pronounce that word?
I'm guessing. Don't listen to me.
Man, I'm always afraid to use that word because I have no idea how to pronounce that monster.
Did you know in this game you could possess a fish, and then you could go through a grate, and then you could kill a guy?
I did know that! It's great how there's all those little emergent gameplay things that they discovered in playtesting, and then there's like 3 of them and they wouldn't shut up about them, and it turns out that it's actually about all of the cool stuff you can do in this game.
Yes. Look, we discovered a subset of the stuff that you could do in Thief, and we put it in this game. Isn't that amazing?
The powers in this game are really boring. They're about, like, 2 or 3 useful
Oh, unless you're
powers,
talking about the powers that murder people.
Right. Even the powers that murder people are kind of anemic. Like possession. I thought that would be awesome. And all it is you get to walk around as a guard for a little while. You can't hit people. You can't, like, start fights between guards by possessing a guard, then starting a fight.
You can't take off your clothes and do a handstand.
You can't do that if you had the inclination. Like,
but no, seriously, yeah. Your options are very limited, and it's actually not very exciting. It's just a less efficient way to move around in areas where you're forbidden.
Or fight.
Mostly.
They're, like, blink and stop time are really useful. Rat swarm is kind of useful, depending on what you're doing.
Let's get down to it.
See, I actually really like the powers. They are really limited in number, and they're mostly only useful if you're actually doing a lethal playthrough, but either way, the game actually makes really good use of them. They're really interconnected, and they lead to some really interesting play, just not if you're doing stealth, because the idea of stealth is you basically don't use anything other than blink.
Right, pretty much. Blink and stop time. And choke people. I use stop.
Oh yeah, and choke isn't
extensively
really
in my,
and choke isn't really a power. That's just
You can do it. You can. Your exploits
Yeah.
are legendary.
choke isn't like a power. It's like your sword. It's just a thing you can. Everybody can.
Let's use
theoretically
runes
do.
to
It's not
upgrade your
magic.
choke to force choke.
Recovering hers, obviously.
I mean,
Assuming she's
you can do things with possession, just not great things. Like, you can use it to bypass any of the electrical
Right.
blowy uppy people terminal thingies.
He's one of us.
So here's another example of the meta-game fiction being completely, making sense and sort of being fleshed out, and none of it, the game really making sense. So if obviously he's sending you out to kill the Overseer, and this is effectively a suicide mission. There's no reason he has to believe that you could possibly succeed in doing this, not, just knowing that you're a pretty cool guy.
Especially since you totally failed at your only job, just like
And
the last
since
time
he
you did
doesn't know you
anything
have
significant.
outsider powers, and in fact, I'm pretty sure you actually can't even get into the first area without outsider powers. So
Without the outsider, he would have dropped you off, and you would have just stood there forever until you starved to death.
So here's the thing. And in his journal, it says, he's like, man, I'm surprised that he succeeded. I gave him like a 1 in 5 chance of actually pulling this off, but I'm gratified. Let's give him another dangerous mission, and if he pulls this off, God willing. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. But then you're like, except the main game fiction is, I seem to be the only thing this guy's got going.
Yeah.
I seem to be
plan.
he's hinging his whole plan. He blew all these resources on getting you out and getting you equipment and giving you your cool badass face mask that has no reason to exist. And sending you on all these missions and taking all these risks. And you seem to be his only plan, and it's not a very good plan.
I suspect you're going to kill the high.
Glad that we have the Bethesda style steal your camera while you're running around.
For you to listen to me.
Corvus, hello. I'm Callista. I work for Admiral Havlos.
Corvus?
Serves as proximity watch. But he's a good man and my only family.
Jim Corvus.
Protagonist name here.
Campbell just took delivery.
Remember,
This
there's
guy's
no reason for
barely a
you to listen to
person.
her, and she doesn't seem to
My
care
uncle's not
one way or
corrupt
the
like the
other.
rest of them.
You could kill my family member,
Campbell's going
or
to prison
not,
longer.
I don't know.
Do you think
You
you
know
could
what, I'm
protect
kind of
him?
hungry, I'm gonna go
You
get
used to
something
be
to eat.
that
Let
way.
me know how it turns out, okay, bye.
Before you had your
Seamus, you live in Pittsburgh. I know someone that lives in Pittsburgh. Don't kill them if you can, okay?
It'd be kind of cool if you didn't.
It comes up more often than
if
you
you feel
think,
like it.
Chris.
If you don't kill them, I will give you a candy.
What can I do for you?
Pittsburgh is the post-apocalypse. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I can't ever
Yeah,
promise
steal
that I won't
babies,
shank a dude
eat
on the way to the
babies,
store.
Ready to go?
That Fallout
Murder
3
people
expansion
and
was
fight their-
non-fiction.
Murder people and fight their bucket manifestations from beyond the grave.
And now the mask. Okay, the fiction behind this mask, I think it's hilarious. They're like, we don't want you to be recognized because everybody knows that you're the person who killed the Empress, or you're the one accused of it, and your poster's up all around town. So here, we're going to give you this robot skull mask that you can wear over your face.
Totally inconspicuous.
Like,
I'm not even sure that was their explanation. Like, I thought it was just like, well, you're really scary, and everybody hates you, so we're gonna give you a scary face that everybody's gonna hate. For revenge.
Let's got a telescope in it, you guys. That's important.
That was what I walked away. That was my understanding.
I thought initially I thought after you got branded, like, oh, well, your face was disfigured, so here's a map.
I thought too.
But
I
then,
thought too,
you
but
know, it
nobody
doesn't come
comments
up
on it.
ever again. And
here's
at
the
the end of
thing.
the game, you're totally not.
Who are you trying to impress? Because there's only one part in this entire game where you would like want to be masked because you're passing along people who give a shit about you that aren't going to attack you on sight anyway. That's the masquerade, and everybody's reaction when they see what the masquerade is, why are you wearing the robot skull mask of that guy who's killing everybody?
Yeah. Or, oh, that's a daring costume.
Either you're playing the game stealthily and then they have no reason to ever see the mask, or you're playing the game lethally, in which case you don't care who sees you because you're either stabbing them or you have stabbed people and are running away from them. But if they say it's the guy with the skull mask who stabbed those people, or it's Corvo that stabbed those people, it doesn't matter. It's not like Corvo is going home to his personal home and will be sitting there reading Time magazine when the cops bust in.
This is very much personal opinion, but I also always thought the mask looked pretty stupid. Like, even when I was looking at the ads.
It struck me as trying too hard. They wanted
Way too
something
hard.
cool. Yeah, they wanted something cool.
It's like it's like a steampunk enthusiast's like 150th project where he's just like he's lost the inspiration, doesn't even know what he's doing anymore. He's just sticking gears and shit on something. Like, is this Victorian enough? I think this is pretty Victorian.
I don't think a skull mask is very Victorian.
It's not.
But it has gears in it, and gears are steampunk. Everybody knows.
Watch
that.
I actually mean, rather than Victorian, I really do mean it looks very steampunk.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like someone's trying way too hard to make something cool in steampunk for like a
Josh
Reddit
is
post
going
or
about
something.
this literally the opposite direction I approach this from.
Yeah, me
And can
too.
I'm gonna echo what Josh has said, what Seamus has said multiple times, which is, I came in here with all kinds of good stuff to say about this game, and now I've literally gotten to the point of, and I don't like Corvo's stupid dumb face.
Well, this is how spoiler warning goes.
But I really had things that I wanted to say that I like about this game. How did this happen so soon?
Well, the start of this game is not very strong.
That's true. They
It,
put
it,
the
it throws a whole lot of horseshit at you before you can lose yourself in the gameplay.
yes.
In fairness, I do love the fact that Josh just did that whole segment in the complete opposite order I do it in. I take out the guards on the bridge and then teleport around. Josh just went from the water up, and the game lets you do objectives pretty much however you want.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
there is an
totally
element of
ignored-
non-linearity to this game.
I ignored the bridge. I didn't do any of this shit.
Yeah, I love that
he did
touch
the
back there.
bone
Those
shot.
two guys. Those two guys were throwing bodies in the river, and I loved that. It reinforces the whole notion of zombie plague. It's the kind of stupid backward thing people would do, is to throw poison bodies in their own water supply. It was just perfect. It was perfect and kind of creepy and unsettling. And if you come at it the right way, you're approaching kind of below and seeing the bodies fall down to your right. And it's really like, you see the body hit the bottom and it's like, makes it a sound that might make you grit your teeth. It's pretty cool.